When I announced that I was quitting, Elsa sneered at me. I didn't say anything back. I just looked at her calmly. We had been talking about the company's decision to cut labor costs. Elsa was particularly mean about people who were supposedly taking advantage of overtime pay. Eric also seemed happy about saving money. A week later, my phone wouldn't stop ringing with calls from the company. When I finally answered, the president asked me sharply, "Who exactly are you?" I couldn't help but laugh a bit at the question. I told him my name is Freja Johnson. I am 55 years old and have been working for 33 years since I graduated from college. I explained that our company provides administrative services to busy company presidents, handling clerical work and specializing in tax-related matters. I probably manage 40 clients, even though it's a lot of work, and I only have help from a part-timer. Despite the challenges, I couldn't show any weakness because our clients had been with us for a long time and their struggles made me more determined. Today, as I sat in front of my computer, I couldn't stop thinking about the constant harassment from Eric and Elsa. Eric, who is 7 years younger than me and now the head of the tax department, changed his attitude drastically 3 months ago when he got promoted. He used to be polite, but now he was condescending and always complaining, making every interaction difficult. Even when I tried to argue back, he didn't care and told me to follow the manual for guidance, warning me not to do anything unnecessary. Elsa, Eric's assistant, joined in too, criticizing my efficiency and mocking my position, even though I had been the first to turn down a promotion to department head, which they didn't know. I stayed committed to my regular duties, but their harassment continued. Eric accused me of increasing overtime and wasting time, and Elsa agreed, saying my constant overtime was hurting the tax department's performance. The recent cause of my overtime was Eric leaving a month's worth of client files on my desk, expecting me to file them by the end of the month. After work, I looked at the files in shock. "Wait, these all have deadlines this month, right?" I muttered in confusion. But before I could fully understand the situation, Eric was already packing up his desk, not interested in my concerns. "I'm heading out. Take care," he said casually as he left the office. Elsa followed him, adding insult to injury with a mocking laugh. I sighed heavily as I looked at the client files scattered on my desk. To my dismay, I realized that some of the files were originally Elsa's responsibility. This realization made me sigh even more deeply. I understood why Eric was constantly harassing me. They wanted me to retire quickly. My vast experience and deep knowledge in taxation made me the go-to person for other members of the tax department, not Eric. Eric's unapproachable attitude and unappealing appearance made everyone avoid him except for Elsa. Elsa stayed close to him strategically because Eric preferred younger female employees. This shallow mindset made me uncomfortable. Elsa's harassment wasn't just personal. She wanted to impress Eric, who evaluated the tax department's performance. Despite these challenges, I had to manage the tax declarations for my assigned companies. Today's workload seemed never-ending, but claiming overtime would only bring more complaints from Eric and Elsa. This left me resigned to working extra hours unpaid. Suddenly, I was called to the president's office. Our company had recently changed leadership because the former president became ill. The new president, the former president's son, wasn't fully familiar with the company yet. As I entered the office, I saw Eric and Elsa with smug looks on their faces. In a tense atmosphere, the president dropped a bombshell. "Freja, we'll need you to resign by the end of this month." My mind spun, and I asked for clarification. Eric and Elsa had accused me of overbilling for overtime, saying that while others had around 15 hours, I had exceeded 80 hours. The president, unaware of the true situation, seemed impressed with Eric and Elsa's zero overtime. The reality hit me. The inflated overtime was because I was doing Eric and Elsa's work. However, if I revealed Eric's instructions, it might look like I couldn't manage my time effectively. I presented the facts, asserting that I hadn't overbilled for overtime but struggled to finish my workload within regular hours. The president sighed deeply, expressing doubt but acknowledging the lack of evidence to pursue the matter further. Nevertheless, he insisted they couldn't keep someone working at such a slow pace. Resigned to the situation, the president suggested my resignation, and it seemed his mind was made up. Being told to leave the company I had devoted 33 years to made me feel weary. Despite my dedication, the extra work from Eric and Elsa went unappreciated. I agreed to resign at the end of the month, acknowledging that I had already communicated my decision to the president. As I glanced at Eric and Elsa, their vulgar smiles reflected satisfaction. Leaving the president's office, Elsa taunted me with a sarcastic, "Thanks for quitting," her sneer cutting through. I responded with a silent stare, facing similar disdain from Eric, who shared his approval of cutting labor costs and labeled me as someone exploiting overtime pay. Observing their cheerful conversation, I pondered the handover process. I created documents for all my clients, ensuring proper farewells and appointments with those I could meet personally. Unable to schedule a meeting with the president, I resorted to writing letters to inform them of my successor. A week after my resignation, while enjoying a moment of relaxation at home, my mobile phone rang. Seeing the company's call, I hesitated, having already completed social insurance procedures. However, persistent calls from both the company and Eric and Elsa's personal mobiles led me to answer reluctantly. As I picked up, the president urgently spoke, asking, "Who exactly are you?" I couldn't help but mockingly reply, "Just an unemployed lady who resigned from the company. Nothing else." In response, the president urgently explained the chaos since my departure, 49 calls to stop transactions with the company. He pleaded for my immediate return, revealing a sense of panic in his tone. Reluctantly, I rose from my seat and made my way back to the company. Upon my arrival, I found Eric and Elsa waiting, their faces notably pale and dark circles underlining their weary eyes. Surprised by their drastic change in appearance, I inquired about what was happening. Eric glared at me and revealed, "Since you left, we've been bombarded with calls to stop transactions, not just from your clients, but also from prospective companies we were planning to introduce." "What did you do?" Elsa echoed the suspicion, expressing disillusionment at the thought of me resorting to underhanded tactics. Their haggard appearance suggested the toll of handling cancellations. While I had not manipulated the clients, I had a hunch about the reason behind the transaction halts. Considering the inevitability of cancellations, I mumbled my thoughts aloud. Eric, however, accused me outright, insisting I had orchestrated something. He demanded I go to the president's office immediately, forcefully escorting me there. Upon entering the president's office with Eric and Elsa, the president greeted me with a direct look in his eyes. Eric declared, "President, I brought her," with an air of authority, while Elsa hurriedly followed suit. Ignoring their accusatory tone, the president questioned me about the abrupt halt in transactions after my departure. I took a deep breath and explained, "Our clients don't need us to manage their taxes. There are tax accountant firms that offer cheaper services. They continued with us because of me." Eric snapped back, questioning my self-worth, and Elsa taunted me, both challenging my value to the company. Undeterred, I maintained my composure and continued. I elaborated on my unique approach, explaining how I offered tailored tax-saving strategies that resonated with our clients. Eric dismissed my methods as inefficient, arguing that their manual-based operations were more practical. The president sighed deeply, recognizing the fundamental difference in our approaches. In a serious tone, he said, "Actually," signaling that a crucial revelation or decision was about to follow. To my surprise, I received a call from my father, the former president. It turned out that some clients who had stopped transactions went directly to him to negotiate on my behalf. I hadn't anticipated clients going to such lengths for me. Dad emphasized that the tax department thrived because of my contributions. Not only did I manage my clients efficiently, but I also supported my colleagues' clients, possessing knowledge that even Eric couldn't match. Dad disclosed that if I hadn't declined the promotion, I would have held a higher position than department head by now. The current president expressed regret with a pained expression. Elsa appeared shocked, probably grappling with the idea that I could have been her superior. The president apologized for making me resign initially and asked if I would consider revoking my resignation. According to Dad, I was indispensable to the company. While I appreciated the change in the president's perspective, I hesitated to accept. Eric interrupted our conversation, visibly upset, and protested the president's decision, questioning why I was chosen over him. Elsa echoed his sentiments, praising Eric's leadership and expressing disbelief at the preference for me. The president then sternly addressed them, revealing that since my resignation, numerous complaints had been received from the tax department, suggesting they had been shifting their workload onto others. Eric's face turned pale as the president exposed the fact that he had been pushing the preparation of client declaration forms onto subordinates, including Elsa's work for multiple clients. The president pointed out the irony, considering Eric had accused me of being a salary thief. Observing Eric and Elsa's pale expressions, the president continued by revealing an alleged leak about their romantic involvement. Eric struggled to defend himself, claiming he was merely mentoring Elsa as her superior. However, the president produced receipts from the accounting department indicating dining expenses filed by Eric. Confronted with evidence, Eric, sweating profusely, was unable to provide a convincing explanation. Elsa, too, turned ghostly pale as the president accused them of neglecting their duties, inflating expense claims, and violating company policy by having an affair in the office while being married. In a calm and straightforward manner, the president declared the termination of their employment, effective immediately. Eric and Elsa tried to resist, promising to retract the receipt claims and pleading for their jobs. "I have a family," Eric pleaded, but the president remained firm. Their termination was non-negotiable, and they were escorted out of the office. Seeing the resolution of this chaos, I felt a mix of relief and vindication. The president turned to me with a sincere apology and reiterated his request for me to return. After considering the situation and the support from my father and the clients, I decided to accept the offer. It was clear that my dedication and hard work were finally being recognized and valued. Eric desperately pleaded, attempting to reverse his termination. Elsa echoed his sentiments, carefully expressing her fear of being fired. She promised to apologize to me and others for burdening them with work. Realizing the gravity of the situation involving neglect of duties and an affair with a supervisor, and concerned about her reputation, she implored for a second chance. Sensing their desperation, I offered advice. "Why don't you stop resisting? It's undignified," I suggested. Eric glared at me, retorting, "Shut up. What would a single person like you understand?" I sighed, reminding him, "Eric, you are the one who got me fired. It's just karma. What goes around comes around. Why don't you take some responsibility and reflect a bit?" Frustrated, Eric looked away while Elsa bit her lip in distress. Aware of more details about their misconduct, I turned to the president and asked with a smile if I should share them. Eric and Elsa frantically tried to stop me, fearing further exposure. I issued an ultimatum, warning them that wrongdoings would eventually come to light and urging them to face reality before it worsened. At my words, both Eric and Elsa collapsed to their knees, and the president decided to fire them on the spot. Later, I revealed more about their misdeeds, including Eric faking business trips to spend days with Elsa and their insidious tactics of harassing disliked employees into quitting. Despite my attempts to help those employees, Eric and Elsa's strategies were relentless. They repeatedly reprimanded and pressured employees out of my sight, often assigning sudden tasks with tight deadlines. The resigned employees had initially asked me to keep quiet, but since they were now happily working elsewhere, I decided it was time to speak up. The president, furious at my revelations, expressed anger about cutting Eric and Elsa's final salary. He planned to thoroughly investigate past inflated expense claims. Eric, with tears in his eyes, begged the president not to cut his salary, fearing the impact on his family. As the truth unraveled, Eric's affair with Elsa came to light, leading to Eric's divorce. The two now faced claims for compensation in the divorce lawsuit, marking the consequential aftermath of their actions. I became aware of the situation when Eric reached out to me, seeking assistance in persuading the president to reconsider their firing. Elsa and Eric found themselves in dire straits. Despite their efforts, they struggled to secure new jobs in the tax industry. The industry's close-knit nature meant that word of their misdeeds spread rapidly, making potential employers hesitant to hire them. Desperate for income to cover divorce compensation and living expenses, they resorted to day labor at construction sites, a stark departure from their previous office roles. Elsa would often call me in tears, pleading for help. "Freja, please help. I only wanted a better life, and I never truly liked Eric," she cried. However, I couldn't ignore the fact that their predicament was a consequence of their own actions. Many, including myself, had been impacted by their behavior. I reminded Elsa that the consequences were a result of her choices. "You can't unring a bell," I told her firmly. Facing hardships was the consequence of her decisions. Elsa's despair echoed through her protests. Despite her regrets, the outcome remained unchanged. As for me, I chose to distance myself from the chaos of the corporate world. Despite the president's pleas for my return, I declined. Once told to resign, I had no desire to go back. Instead, I found solace in assisting at a friend's tax office, supplementing my income, and enjoying a more relaxed lifestyle. In the future, I entertained the idea of starting my own office where I could serve my clients without the constraints of corporate bureaucracy. In my own space, I could fully dedicate myself to my clients' needs. As a tax accountant, I aspired to be on equal footing with my clients, providing service without superiority. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in my life, one filled with excitement and opportunities to pursue what truly mattered to me. My second life had just begun, and I eagerly anticipated the journey ahead. As I settled into my new routine at my friend's tax office, I noticed a significant difference in my daily life. The pace was slower, and the atmosphere was far more relaxed than the high-pressure environment I had left behind. I found joy in helping clients without the constant stress of office politics. My friend and I worked well together, and I appreciated the camaraderie and support. Every morning, I woke up with a sense of purpose. My work was meaningful, and I felt valued. I spent my days meeting with clients, discussing their financial situations, and devising personalized tax-saving strategies. The direct interaction with clients was rewarding, and I could see the positive impact of my efforts on their lives. This personal connection had been missing in my previous corporate job, where I often felt like just another cog in the machine. One afternoon, while sipping tea during a break, I reflected on how far I had come. I had turned a painful experience into an opportunity for growth and fulfillment. The thought of starting my own tax office became more appealing each day. I began to make plans, researching the necessary steps to set up my business and considering potential locations. The idea of creating a space where I could work on my terms and build genuine relationships with my clients was exhilarating. In the evenings, I attended business workshops and networking events, meeting other entrepreneurs who shared their experiences and advice. Their stories inspired me and provided valuable insights into the challenges and rewards of running a business. I took meticulous notes and started drafting a business plan, outlining my vision and goals. One evening, as I was preparing dinner, I received a call from an old colleague who had heard about my plans. "Freja, I heard you're thinking of starting your own office," she said. "That's fantastic. I have some clients who might be interested in working with you once you're up and running." Her words filled me with hope and excitement. It was heartening to know that people believed in me and were willing to support my new venture. As I moved closer to launching my business, I faced several challenges. Finding the right location, securing funding, and navigating the legal requirements were daunting tasks. However, I was determined to succeed. I reached out to mentors, attended more seminars, and read extensively about small business management. Each obstacle I overcame brought me one step closer to my dream. One day, while visiting a potential office space, I met an elderly couple who were looking to sell their small tax practice. They had built a loyal client base over the years and were now ready to retire. The location was perfect, and their clients seemed like a great fit for my approach. We discussed the possibility of me taking over their practice, and they were enthusiastic about the idea. "We want someone who cares about our clients as much as we do," the husband said. "We believe you are that person." After careful consideration and negotiations, I decided to purchase their practice. The transition was smooth, and I spent the next few months getting to know my new clients. The elderly couple introduced me to everyone, ensuring a seamless handover. Their clients welcomed me warmly, appreciating my dedication and personalized service. With my new office established, I felt a sense of accomplishment and pride. I had turned a difficult chapter in my life into a new beginning. My business flourished, and I enjoyed the freedom and flexibility that came with being my own boss. I hired a small team of like-minded professionals who shared my vision, and together, we created a supportive and collaborative work environment. In my personal life, I found more balance and happiness. I reconnected with old friends and made time for hobbies and activities I had neglected. I even took up painting, a passion I had since childhood, but never had the time to pursue. The creative outlet brought me joy and relaxation, further enhancing my sense of well-being. As my business grew, I began to give back to the community. I volunteered to provide free tax advice to low-income families and small businesses, helping them navigate the complexities of the tax system. Seeing the difference I could make in their lives was incredibly rewarding. Looking back, I realized that being forced to leave my corporate job was a blessing in disguise. It pushed me out of my comfort zone and led me to a path where I could thrive both professionally and personally. I had found my true calling, and with it, a renewed sense of purpose and fulfillment. The journey ahead was still uncertain, but I faced it with confidence and optimism. My second life had begun, and I was excited to see where it would take me. I had learned that sometimes the most challenging experiences could lead to the most rewarding outcomes.